Hello, good afternoon. My name is Olabode Ayola, Master Student International Relations, and I'll be presenting on the concept of international relation, war and peace. Before I proceed, I will say what is war. We can say war is generally defined as a violent conflict between states or nations for a variety of reasons, and war has been part of world affairs for so long that it is easy to see it as a natural condition in foreign affairs. According to Sir Michael Howard, he said, those who yearn for peace probably assume that war is deeply abnormal. Those who study the world in all complexity, however, came to realize war is a deeply ingrained part of our social lives. And in the US sociologist Charles Tilly, he said that war makes the state and the state makes the war. And he further argues that states dominate the world because they are able to mobilize the material resources needed to fight protracted wars, And others argues that wars are fought between non-state actors, and there is no clear dividing line between war as a state activity and other forms of conflict. Also, according to world sociologist Charles Tilly, he said war is uncomfortable reality and must be tackled head on. He argued that states dominate the world because they are able to mobilize the material resources needed for war, and war makes the state. The conflict in Syria, for example, and Iraq, it exemplifies the potential of modern non-state actors to fight protracted conflicts, according to the experts. And they point out that wars are fought between warring parties, and there is no clear dividing line between the state and the activity of the non-state actors. So, and this question comes in: why do we fight? Why do states fight? Why do nations fight? If we accept Clausewitz's claim that there are many types of war, it follows that no single model will be able to explain them all. There is not a universal theory of war, but it is possible to identify the elements of the nature of war that persist in human history. And we can say international relations contribution to these strands of war studies have been to identify the two causes of armed conflicts between political units. That is to say, one is connected to the anarchical structure of the international system, which encourages states to use war as a political tool, and the other describes war in terms of the changing distribution of power between the actors of international society. Furthermore, according to another international relations scholar who is A.F. Organsky, he said wars are mostly likely to occur when international society experiences a decisive shift from one great power to another. And he further identifies this as the different rates of growth among the great powers, which will result in an overchanging distribution of power among them. The danger point for international society arrives when a rising power overtakes a stagnant or declining state. And at this moment, it's as this transactional moment, Organsky concluded that wars are mostly likely to break out. And international relations scholars remain deeply divided over these general theories of war, because someone like Neil Ferguson, he said that he thinks that war lead to gross oversimplifications of reality, and other scholars claim that they ignore the many forms of war which in which war can take place. And they further argued that neither Watts nor Organsky can adequately explain the many reasons that states fight. So, according to War, we can conclude that war are often fought for material gain, for territorial acquisition, resource and market access, or to defend the existing economic system. Also, we can see wars fought for faith and identify are mostly often fought between members of same faith or identity group. And revolutionary wars aim to transform or overthrow existing structure of international society, which is supporting Clausewitz's description of war as a rational political tool. After war, I'll be talking about peace. And before I proceed, what is peace? We can say peace is the absence or cessation of war or hostilities, and the condition or state of a nation or community in which at least they are not at war with another. And it can also mean the absence of noise, the absence of movement, or absence of activities. So, in short, we can say peace is the institutional answer to define as the opposite of war, which is the absence of armed conflict between political units. And some states are at peace but are preparing for war, as was the case in the interwar and Cold War periods. When a nation or state is faced with the rise of war, let's say, for example, when faced with the rise of Imperial Japan in the 1930s, was it better for China to seek some form of peace, or should they just have taken measures to defend themselves? Well, peace is defined as the absence of armed conflict, as we said, and so therefore, as we have said earlier, peace is something that is worth pursuing, and war is something that almost everybody try to avoid nations, because once there is peace, everything goes smoothly. So, but however, peace is not always unambiguously positive. Sometimes it might be negative. Sometimes because we have positive peace and negative peace. And after this, I'll be talking on the theories of peace. And for most influential answers, we must turn back to realist and liberal theory. Galton's story of negative and positive peace is one of the many contributions made by peace researchers over the years. And for realists, peace must be built from a clear position of strength, which is supported by significant military capacity. And the worst possible thing that a state can do is to give an impression of weakness, because this will give an upper hand to their enemy so far they have identified their weaknesses. So, in summary, I would say peace, according to realists, they advocate the preservation of peace through the acquisition of power, deterring aggression, through the threat of severe retaliation. And also, liberals see the realist policies as self-defeating and preferring to kinds of claims made by Immanuel Kant and democratic peace theory, because both claim that the roots of peace are found in domestic political system, which is adopted by the states of the world. With this, I will conclude my presentation concerning war and peace. Thank you.